Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more AmITheButtHole. And if you love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack straight on with today's stories. Much love to you guys. Now our first story comes from Am I the Arsehole Breakfast 4543, who says, am I the arsehole for telling my girlfriend she technically stole from me when she went grocery shopping using my credit card while I was asleep? Here's the situation. I, male 27, have been with my girlfriend, female 24, for 7 months. We don't live together and she has sleepovers at my place regularly. 2 days ago, she spent the night at my place, and in the morning, I was sleeping in, she got up, got dressed, took my credit card and went grocery shopping with it. I woke up to a massive breakfast made by her as a surprise, and when I asked how she got the money and time to prepare all that, she told me she took my credit card while I was asleep and headed to the supermarket to get the stuff she needed to make me a surprise breakfast. I was stunned. I asked her why she didn't ask me before taking my credit card, and she said I was sleeping and didn't want to bother me, besides she wanted this to be a surprise. I just started and said, I don't know, you do realise you technically stole from me when you took my credit card and went shopping with it without my consent, right? She looked at me in complete shock and confusion and said she was just trying to do something nice for me, and I just implied that she was a thief. I just shrugged and said it was technically true. She got so upset and stormed out the kitchen crying. She collected herself and left after she said she spent time and effort to prepare me breakfast, and I was out of line to say she stole from me just because she forgot her wallet at home. She kept hanging up when I tried calling her and later sent me money for the stuff she bought, although she didn't take anything with her. My sister came over, and when I told her, she called me an ungrateful jerk with no manners to react this way after this display of affection by my girlfriend. She suggested I get over myself and apologise as soon as possible, but I decided to take my time. Am I the arsehole? Now, I know a lot of couples, right or wrong, that let each other use their cards even without requesting it first. I know many couples that do that with no problem, which is fine if you trust your partner enough to do that. And whilst, girlfriend did get up, wanted to surprise you, and sounded like pretty excited to do it, which I think is a wonderful thing, don't get me wrong. You said a sentence, said, I don't know, you do realise technically you stole from me, which gives me the indication that you've never hinted to her before that, she can use your card for anything, or you're at that place in your relationship to be able to share your card like that. I don't know, as I said before, I don't know if it's a smart move anyway, but to me, I don't think it's something that, enough to cut off girlfriend just like that because she tried to make you a surprise breakfast. I think it was a lovely thing. I think she just overstepped here, and so I'm going to say it and not the arsehole in this one. Although I got a feeling a lot of people are going to go down, it's a wonderful surprise, which, don't get me wrong again, I think is a wonderful surprise, but I'd be happy to wake up for a breakfast even if someone used my card. But Lizard says, not the arsehole. Am I being crazy being the only one, at least so far, who thinks this? You don't take someone's credit card, that's a huge violation. Yes, cooking breakfast is very nice. However, buying something for someone with their own money without asking is not. Buying someone a birthday gift with their own money is not cool. Why would you do this, especially with the additional fact someone who OP has been dating for mere months thought it was okay to take his credit card? 1-800-TURD-FERGUSON says, I'm going with everyone sucks here. Your girlfriend was really out of line for taking your credit card, no hyphens needed, and buying stuff without asking you first. How does she not have any money to buy breakfast food? Is she still a student? Your response was over the top. It sounds like the response of someone who enjoys arguing with people on the internet for no reason. It was also deeply unkind. You could have figured out a better way to ask your girlfriend not to take your credit card and spend money without asking first, than by telling her she technically stole from you. Doglover99 says, I'm surprised that everyone's saying that OP is the arsehole. Not the arsehole. Yes, what she did was a loving gesture, and I'm sure it came from a place of nothing but good intentions. But you don't take someone's money. Period. Also, a real surprise would be her going home, getting her own money, and spending that on a nice breakfast. Skidoo replies to that saying, well, simple. A rational discussion fixes the issue. He establishes a boundary and explains she crossed it, and she pays him back. They enjoy a delicious breakfast and live their lives. The original offense is such a small, easily corrected issue. He overreacted and called her a thief and insulted her. That was an over-escalation and probably ended the relationship, over her buying a few groceries to cook him breakfast, which she would have paid him back for. He's clearly an arsehole in this situation. To me, it is a question of does her action rise to arsehole level? So either you're the arsehole or everyone sucks here. And Ninnerism says, it surprises me how many people think you're the arsehole because she did a nice thing by spending your money on you for a surprise. The presumption that it's okay to just help yourself to someone else's credit card, regardless of intent, shows real immaturity. You don't just assume and take someone's credit card unless you know it's okay to do so with prior consent. You could have been overdrawn or the card is set up a certain way for budgeting, etc. It's not the same as taking cash, and it doesn't matter if it was her intent to pay back later or not. It's basic common sense. She has good intent but poor judgment, not the arsehole. Skidoo says you're the arsehole. She bought groceries for your apartment. It's not like she used your card for selfish things. Yes, you are technically correct, and congrats on being single for that. Something like, I really appreciate all the effort you went through, but in the future, could you ask before using my card? There are better ways to establish that boundary than calling your girlfriend a thief and crapping all over the surprise she put a lot of effort into. And Javamoka says, everyone sucks here. Yes, she shouldn't have taken your credit card without your knowledge, no matter what the reason. Her intentions were sweet, but if she didn't have the money to do it, she could have waited till another time, since you said she sleeps over often. You, on the other hand, could have brought this up a lot better without throwing on the thief bit. Approach to boundaries and how you start those conversations are very important. You had no consideration for how she felt or her intentions, and that's an arsehole move. Learn to communicate without hurting people's feelings unnecessarily. Edit, what's with a hyphen between credit card? Weird. And as you can see, the verdicts are all over the place in this one. We've got not the arsehole, everyone sucks here, you're the arsehole, it's everywhere. And while some of the verdicts did give me pause for thought and thinking, oh, maybe it isn't everyone sucks here, purely for the reaction to it, but at the same time, I think he was right. And yes, there probably was a better way of wording it and, creating boundaries for the future. I certainly don't think it should end their relationship over this. But clearly boundaries do need to be in place. But I'm going to stick with my not the arsehole because I'm thinking, why not? What are your thoughts on this one? How would you react if your partner used your card in a, say, 7-month relationship like this post? And to me, reading it, it never gave her an indication that you could use his card before. So, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below and we'll move on to another story. And our next story comes from Cherry Mushroom, who says, am I the arsehole for not changing the way I kiss my cat to accommodate for my housemate's autism? I, 20 female, moved in with my best friend, 21 male, a few months ago. Around that time, he also found out that he is most likely autistic. He is still searching for a cheap diagnosis option, but is working through things with his therapist. A big part of his autism is disgust sensitivity, which makes him very sensitive to germs. He has separate cutlery to me, keeps all of his property separate, cleans the washing machine every time I use it, and doesn't let me touch his side of the couch, among other things. At first I didn't understand, but now I am happy to help make him more comfortable at home. He shouldn't have to worry about those things, so I know it's my responsibility to respect his boundaries. Today, however, I felt this went too far when I was kissing my cat repeatedly on the head, while she was sitting near him on the couch. He then started telling me to get away from her and expressed that he doesn't like it when I kiss her like that because of the possibility of my saliva going on her. He said that it makes him uncomfortable and he wants me to kiss her less or space out the kisses more. I was taken back and said I wouldn't change the way I interact with my own cat because of him. He then said that he wouldn't be able to kiss her for a while because of it and implied that I was being ableist. He said that it's not his fault if I have a problem with it because he isn't in control of how it makes him feel. He kept trying to make it that I was the issue and to blame for the situation. We went back and forth about that for a bit and he ended up comparing it to the cutlery and washing machine. I said it's not comparable because 1, they are objects, not a cat. 2, those things are either his or shared property, meanwhile my cat is not his. I said that I'm fine to accommodate all of those things, but I'm not willing to do that with my cat. I said that he has no right to tell me what to do with my own cat. He then said he isn't telling me what to do and that he is just expressing his discomfort. I said that he was gaslighting me and he burst into tears because he didn't like being called a gaslighter. Afterward we spoke again and figured out that he had forgotten he had told me he wanted me to change and that he has trouble communicating. I apologized for calling him a gaslighter, but he continued it saying it was my fault for reacting and not wanting to compromise. It was very awkward now between us and I'm not sure how to proceed without upsetting him further. And we're going to start off with PRS Mesa182, who says not the arsehole. He hasn't been even fully diagnosed yet and he's already weaponizing it. It's time to move. This is where he says, and quotes, he's not in charge of his feelings, and then says, guess what, that's not autism, that's everyone. That's a human condition. He is, like the rest of society, responsible for his behavior. I say that as someone with a diagnosis. He might be working on getting a diagnosis, but it sounds like until he's committed to and finds better tools for dealing with the world, that he's better off living alone. I feel you've been exceedingly accommodating, not the arsehole. Your last couple of sentences sounds like you're walking on eggshells. That's no way to live. EMA630 says not the arsehole. If he's worried about your saliva on your cat and says that he won't be able to kiss your cat after you kiss your cat, guess what, buddy? That he very simply just doesn't get to kiss your cat. Dude can't use his undiagnosed issue to force you to do everything exactly the way he wants. He should be working with his therapist to help him come up with coping strategies to deal with the inevitable situations that he cannot control. He kinda sounds like a nightmare roommate. I'm not sure I'd put up with this situation for very long. I understand he has an issue, but he can't use that to control you and everything in your shared home. You've been more than accommodating. He's the arsehole. Nigerian Princess says, tell him if he wants to kiss a cat, he should get his own. High on Catnip Brownie says not the arsehole. He doesn't want to compromise, he wants his way. Sounds like he's getting very accustomed to concessions being made whenever he expects them to. That's not how the outside world works, and he cannot police how you interact with your own pet. Also, congratulations on spotting and calling out gaslighting, because that's exactly what that was. Even if he didn't do it maliciously, it was gaslighting, and so is starting to cry when you called him out, again, even if he doesn't realize that's what he was doing. It was an attempt to manipulate you to his opinion. Don't feel bad for seeing that. Now, what do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if your roommate was similar? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to another story. And our next story comes from Celebrities Eat Bread, who asks, am I the arsehole for refusing to take in my ex's purebred dog, resulting in the dog going to the pound and getting adopted out almost immediately? In the final 2 months of our 3-year but quickly dissolving relationship, my ex bought a 2-month-old purebred Labrador Retriever puppy to the tune of $1,200. For the sake of clarity, we both knew our relationship was in the end stages, but neither of us were ready to deal with the final break. We talked about the dog and I was fine with it, but she would pay for it and everything associated with it was in her name. We also had 3 cats that I adopted from the local APL. They were all in my name and I paid for their care and so on. TLDR, dog was hers, cats were mine. The cats were absolutely terrified of the dog, which hastened the end of our relationship. The cats came with me and moved out. Overall, amicable separation. But we did not keep in contact. I never asked about the dog, nor did she about my cats. 2 years later, she gets in touch with me and asked me to take in our dog for some time. She was moving in with her boyfriend, who I had since learned she had been seeing before we broke up, and his apartment didn't allow pets. She asked that I take care of our dog until they brought a house together. I said no. She asked why. I said I didn't want to. She tried to talk about how I cared for the dog and that was part of my family too, etc, etc. Look, I liked the dog well enough and was more than happy to take care of him while I lived with her, but I don't want a dog for any amount of time. I have 4 cats now, my own house, an unpredictable work schedule, and no desire for a dog and the increased responsibility that comes with one. I told her to look for long-term boarding kennels. She said she would never. Eventually she straight up begged me, saying they were going to buy a home ASAP, but how long I was to look after him could be anywhere from a week to a few months. I said no, final answer. She blocked me and I went about my life. A few days ago she unblocked me and unleashed a textual barrage to the effect that I had gotten her dog taken away from her and I owed her the price she paid for him. Apparently she surrendered him to the local APL, believing they would just hold him for her. Anyway, the dog was adopted out very quickly and unsurprisingly. A well-mannered purebred dog at the local APL? Few and far between. Why she didn't, board him somewhere is a great question. Like I said, I suggested it, but I'm also the devil, so she disregarded it immediately. Some of my family who knew her for a while we were together think I'm the arsehole. Am I? Fellow Canadian says not the arsehole. Why did she think coming around 2 years later after being trash should make you agree to literally anything? My face says not the arsehole. It's a shelter, not a pawn shop. You don't get your dog back from a shelter. That's common sense. My dogs are children, but they are pets, and pets are not subject to any kind of joint custody agreement where the ex is obligated to take them. If she couldn't afford to live in a place that allowed a pet until she could buy a house, that certainly sucks, but it's not your problem. Nuclear Minded says not the arsehole. 2 years later was all I had to read. Wow, you dodged a bullet. OP replies to that saying true stuff. She actually wanted to keep one of the cats with her. The one that's mentally handicapped and hid under the bed for 3 weeks after he brought the dog home. I shudder to think about what would have happened to the poor guy if we left with her. Supergirl Krypton says not the arsehole. Your ex is in the wrong completely for blaming you for her choices after your breakup. In no way are you responsible. You gave her ideas to help her, which she then refused to consider. She's lashing out at you because that's far easier to do than to take responsibility for her actions. This is a problem of her own creation. Geek as my chic says not the arsehole, so your ex who cheated on you found out later, 2 years later is like, hey, watch my dog for no compensation because why not? You said no, then she did something irresponsible that made it so her dog got another family. You in no way are responsible for her in any way. That ended 2 years ago when you broke up. And one more from Shadow Fox who says not the arsehole. She has many options. People foster dogs. They do in-home dog sitting and boarding kennels. She chose to give it to the shelter. They also will board dogs for cash. Dogs in her name and her responsibility. Hope it went to a good home who love it. Stressing your own cats out was not an option. I own dogs. They are mine and I'll try everything before giving them up. And our next story comes from Specific Basis 3128. Am I the arsehole for not accepting my new neighbor? Is it going to be a nightmare neighbor? Let's find out. I, 38 female, am part of a group of friends in my neighborhood. We take turns hosting dinner parties between our households. 5 houses out of 15 in our neighborhood. One of our group recently moved out because her husband was cheating with his secretary. In the last month he moved her in and is acting as if everything is normal. I am hosting dinner this month. We're hosting Thanksgiving as none of us are able to see family this year. The husband of my friend, who's back home with her parents, otherwise she'd be invited, asked my husband, as their friend, about the plans and assumed he and his mistress would be invited. My husband said no and that due to the circumstances, none of the wives wanted them. Both him, who betrayed our friend, and his girlfriend, who was very aware of his wife and kids at home. Well, the girlfriend came by to talk to me today. She approached me right as I was getting home from work, so I'm assuming she was waiting for me. She wants to try and mend fences and build friendships with the wives of her boyfriend's friends and neighbours as she's now part of the community. I'll admit I was exhausted after working a 48-hour on-call shift and I am very protective of my friends normally. I don't care to be this woman's friend. I simply said to her, I don't want to be friends with a woman that screws around with married men, and your boyfriend stopped being my friend when he destroyed his family and broke my friend's heart, and just walked into my home. My husband got a call from her boyfriend, and he was furious with me for making his girlfriend upset. My husband really doesn't like what his friend did either, and told him that he doesn't support cheating either, and understand that I don't want to continue friendship with him or his girlfriend. My friends are split. All my friends that are friends with his soon-to-be ex-wife are 100% with me, and most think I should have been harsher with my words. But other friends keep telling me that she's not the problem. The husband cheated. And while I agree with that, I also believe that this girl was aware he had a wife and young kids at home, and knew that damage this would do. No, she didn't take a vow, but personally, I think it's very immoral, and it's like backstabbing another woman to get involved with someone that's in a committed relationship. I don't see why I should be friends. It's not like I'm friends with the whole neighborhood to start with anyways. Whenever we have stories like this, I always get like a vivid image of my mind of the only way I can explain it, and forgive me if this sounds wrong, like a US style neighborhood where you got the road in the middle and then like separate detached houses either side all the way along with the little mailboxes out front. And that's always my go-to neighborhood that I picture these stories in, and I can picture this person just hanging out at the window waiting for that person to pull up on their driveway, and as soon as they do, they come running out, hello there. And I always find that super creepy, that someone waiting for you to get home like that. I don't know why, maybe it's not, but... And before anyone gets on me, I know not all US neighborhoods are like that. It's just the one that comes into my imagination. Seen too much stuff on TV. But I think it's a very simple not the arsehole in this one to me. It takes two to tango, and it sounds like, you know, the other person knew about the wife and children as well beforehand. And even if they didn't, you still wouldn't try to get yourself involved in that friend group afterwards, knowing what's gone down. There's no way you would approach that, surely. But Elodie says not the arsehole, virtual fist bump. Dry equivalent replies to that saying ditto from me. I can't believe the fucking audacity of the cheating a-hole and his mistress expecting to be welcomed with open arms into the wife's friend group, like everybody's supposed to just smile and pretend at a Thanksgiving table that everything is fine and dandy and be all friendly with them. They must be delusional. Wicked Poetess says, not the arsehole. You're not required to play nice with anyone, and the soon-to-be ex-mistress assuming that you'll be okay with the replacement of your friend is naive at best, and downright entitled and oblivious most likely. You probably could have said it more nicely, but most normal people would have expected that response, long shift or not. You hurt her feelings. Did he ever stop to see that he hurt her more than his wife by cheating? Probably not. Actions have consequences, and he must accept that as part of his new life. Event Horizon says, not the arsehole, you have every right not to be friends with a husband and new girlfriend. They made their bed, now they have to lie in it. M Fruitfly says, not the arsehole, this guy cheated on your friend. He doesn't get invited anymore. The end. A mistress who knows she is a mistress is also totally to blame. If you were still inviting him and not the mistress, that would be messed up, but you're treating them the same. Both the cheating man and his mistress are not invited. Your friend saying he is the cheater is right, but it's not like you are only punishing her. You are cutting them both out. I don't blame you. Keep them both away from you. And one more from Ronark, who says, not the arsehole. If more people face these type of social repercussions for their infidelity, maybe there would be less of it. Or maybe a few more people would have at least have the courage and integrity to break up or get divorced before having sex with their new crush. Now, what do you guys make of this one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you do love these stories, Am I the Arsehole stories, relationship stories, there's a couple of playlists on your screen right now that will scroll through them all for you, so you don't have to keep coming off and clicking and all that usual boring stuff. It will play through them automatically for you whilst you're doing your art, traveling, whatever you're doing today. Let me know in the comments below. I always love to hear what you're doing whilst listening. Makes my day. Thank you so much for your love, time and support, and I will see you, you cheeky so-and-so, in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon.